Good morning. It is day 7 or 8, something like that. And you can tell by the way we're dressed, the temperature has changed. It's definitely dropped. So it's a little cool this morning. I'm dressed like a lumberjack stereotype. And what are you sporting today?
Sporty spice.
We're on our way to tour Thunder Bay. And where else are we going?
And we're going to head out to Fort William, historical site. It's got gazillion dozens of buildings, recreation of the fort from 1816.
And I think we're going to go to Mount McKay as well. The vantage point there will be absolutely beautiful.
We're climbing another mountain.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that.
With a lookout, I'm sure, off a cliff.
And we're standing in front of our hotel. We're actually staying at an old courthouse, and it's great. It's really, really nice. It's got a great view as well.
And I think I may have broken the law already once since being here, so I might be in the jail cell downstairs later tonight.
But that wouldn't be your first.
No.
Anyway, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Hi, we're in beautiful Thunder Bay, and I am with Tuija Hansen. And Tuija, can you introduce yourself and just let people know what you're known as?
So locally, I'm known as a fiber artist and a textile designer. I've been working in Thunder Bay for the last, it's 2020 now. I moved home in 2008 after attending Cooney School of the Arts in Nelson, BC. That's what kind of propelled me forward into the world of textiles, being weaving, felting with wool, dyeing with like natural materials and synthetic dyes, and pattern drafting. So since then I've been living here. I'm from Thunder Bay, so I moved back after I graduated, and I've been building up my practice here regionally, recently focusing on plant dyes.
Fantastic. Then we've definitely got stuff to talk about.
Okay.
And before we get into that, I've also read your CV, and you've been all over the place. You've been doing residency. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Where you've been?
Yeah. I love traveling and exploring, and I like being able to go somewhere with a purpose and to stay somewhere for a while. So recently I was in Finland in 2019 doing a residency there, and that was a more personal residency because it centered my family history.
Yes.
So my family are immigrants from Finland. They moved here in the 50s.
Yep.
And yeah, it was great. My second cousin and I went back, and we had a residency on the northwest coast of the country.
Oh, nice.
In a little tiny wooden town. It's the oldest wooden town in Europe. So beautiful cultural heritage immersion, and really supportive of crafts. So I had a weaving studio there, a dye studio.
Nice.
Yeah, and we were there for the month of June, a little bit longer on either side, but the residency itself was in June, which is the summer solstice month.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's the midnight, midnight sun. Sun never really sets. It's always kind of in a sunset, sunrise all night.
Yeah.
So it was a really neat experience, just physically, conceptually, it was really wonderful.
That's fantastic. And you're in Iceland?
Yes. So then, going backwards in the timeline, my first residency was in Iceland, and I went there because it was the only textile-specific residency I could find in the Northern Hemisphere internationally. So, great. Just took, I've been in school for a number of years and needed to just immerse myself back in art. Took the opportunity, got a grant from the Ontario Arts Council to help fund that. So, I went there kind of without a plan, but just knew I wanted to explore my practice a little bit more because I'd been a bit removed from it.
Sure.
Since moving home to Thunder Bay, I'd been just doing more recycled clothing, fiber design. So I have a line that I do with recycled sweaters and wool jackets and things like that. But I wasn't really weaving or dyeing.
Right.
So going to this residency, I was in a nice incubator of just other artists. There was 8 of us all together, living in a 100-year-old building on the northwest coast of Iceland, and it was the sheep roundup month, so they're very sheep and wool-centric culture. So
Yes.
it was like just a perfect place to fall in love with my practice again.
That's fantastic.
So I did some foraging there, and that was one of the things that I realized had been missing in my practice was the regional foraging aspect. And so this was back in 2018. And so the last 2 years, I've really focused on foraging regional plants and
Yep.
then dyeing with them and then creating works that are imbued with a sense of place because of the materials used to make the colors.
Right. So what would you be foraging in Iceland?
Well, so they're not quite a boreal forest, which is one of the cool similarities between Finland and Thunder Bay.
Yes.
Is the region is
Oh.
almost identical in appearance because of the boreal forest and nature surrounding.
Yeah.
So interestingly, in Iceland, there were different materials, but some similar ones. So things that I was foraging were the tea-leaved willow. It's a small, more shrub-like willow tree.
Yep.
They have a birch species there that grows to not very tall. Like most of the trees are stunted because of the climate there.
And what would you use on the birch?
So when I was in Iceland, I think I was using just like the small twigs and the leaves.
Okay.
This was also September, so luckily it was a warm September, but it was kind of nearing the end of dyeing potential.
Sure.
I was also introduced to lupin leaves as a really good source for yellow dye while I was
okay.
there, and lupin has almost taken over the island of Iceland. But there was a really prolific dyer, her name's Gudrun, and she's really well known. Her background is in science, so she's researched the history of Icelandic dyes through a scientific lens.
Oh, wow.
And so I got to learn a few recipes from her, and she shared the lupin leaves, and that is like her go-to yellow dye.
That's awesome.
Which, of course, we have growing everywhere across Canada as well.
Yes.
So I've been dyeing a lot with lupin. It's one of the first dyes that I forage here locally in spring.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so what do you forage here?
Okay, so living in the boreal forest region, we have a lot to work with here,
Yes.
and we don't have a long season,
True.
but so it's been a busy summer. Some of my favorite things to forage are tansy and goldenrod, which are really prevalent right now. I mean, it's just
Yes.
lining the highways from
Yeah.
east to west in Canada, right? So those are really good right now. Like I said, lupin's in the spring. I'm exploring trees more, so I get a lot of really nice rosy pinks from different tree barks. So this summer I've been using cherry bark, so like the local choke cherries and pin cherries.
Yep.
I've been using birch, alder is one of my favorites. A few things that I've experimented with this season have been part of the dock species. So there's dock grows wildly all over the world.
Yeah.
It's called the rumex species. So I've found a few different variations on that here. I've also used ferns. I grow
Yes.
ostrich ferns in my backyard, and then the bracken fern grows everywhere. So I'm lucky because my family lives outside the city limits, so they have a few acres that I can go
nice.
in and kind of pick from freely.
Yeah.
And actually right now I have a mushroom pot on the boil
Oh,
at
do you?
home. So at this time of year, the lobster mushrooms come out
The
in the
lobster,
forest,
yes.
and so the hypomyces mushroom is a great kind of cranberry colored
Yeah.
dye on wool. So
Yeah, I've noticed the lobster. We've got a couple of lobster mushrooms around our cabin, and I wasn't paying attention to the pot, and I could smell it before. I knew that it was time to go in and check on the pot.
That's one of the things about working outside that's so great.
Yes.
It's like right now, I'm working outside as much
That's
as I can
fantastic.
so that the house doesn't become
Yeah.
permeated with all the lovely smells from dye pots.
Yeah, that was my lesson.
Yeah.
To get outside, I should
Yeah,
get outside.
yeah,
So.
for sure. So yeah, right now I'm experimenting with that. Recently, as you said, I was on St. Joseph Island. It's a slightly different region.
Yeah.
But only 9 hours east of where we are right now. And we foraged St. John's wort there.
Oh, okay.
And that's a flower that I haven't been able to find locally here.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting because I was able to achieve a whole wide range of different colors using St. John's wort.
That's fantastic.
And then yeah, I mean, there's lots. I'm trying to think. Bog myrtle or sweet gale, it's sometimes known as. It grows around marshes. We have a lot of wet areas around Thunder Bay, lots of lakes and
Lots of
swamp
lakes.
areas.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many plants. If I'm just driving somewhere or walking, I'm like scanning and seeing all of the dye potential around me. So.
Does that sound familiar? I keep a bag in the back of the truck. So
Me too. I've got
Stop
a little.
the car.
I've got a little foraging kit that I keep on hand, and yeah, I mean, it's just such a wonderful time of year to be out there exploring. And actually, that's one of the things, because I've been into foraging wild food for a long time before
Yes.
I started foraging for color. And I just kind of, it was like a light bulb went off when I was in Iceland, and I thought to myself, why aren't I doing this at home? Like, if I can do this in Iceland, where they have a very limited range of species and plants that grow,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm living in this boreal forest where there's so much color at my fingertips. So it's really shifted my focus, and I've been loving it.
And so what are you doing with that now? So are you doing any educational videos, or like where is natural dyeing taking you?
Yeah, so there's been a huge interest amongst my peers and the community here in Thunder Bay for me to teach.
Yeah.
I'm not quite feeling like I'm experienced enough to be offering multi-level courses. So I've been taking courses myself this year.
Sure.
But I do offer some basic kind of how-to tips, and in the next few weeks I'll be uploading video content to my Instagram.
Awesome.
Through my stories, and then kind of diving into the world of IGTV
Yes,
for
yes.
the first time, to share some tips and tricks to kind of get the color, just so people can see. Maybe you know, there's so much interest right now. It seems like
There
natural
is.
dyes are really becoming you know, more prevalent in the mainstream topics surrounding
Yes.
sustainable fashion,
Yep.
eco-friendly textiles, art. Even artists in our local community are wondering if, you know, can I use this on a canvas? So I've been approached by a lot of people who have interest, and I'm building up my skill set to offer better course content
That's
for
fantastic.
people. So, I mean, I've been practicing natural dye since 2006, but I
Yeah.
still don't consider myself an expert.
There's so much to learn.
So much to learn,
Yeah.
and I'm in this phase right now in my practice of really just learning as much as I can, conducting my own experiments and research,
Yeah.
so that I can be more knowledgeable and pass that information along to other people.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. So what's around your neck?
This is an eco-printed silk scarf.
Yes.
So I do love playing around with the eco-prints as well. And so this one was dyed, the main scarf color was dyed with the ostrich fur in the spring, so it's
Yep.
a nice kind of a peachy color. And then using some iron modifiers, I've imprinted
That's
the
great.
shapes of
Beautiful.
different
That's
leaves.
Beautiful.
So we've got some maple leaves and some rose leaves, rose bush on here.
It's really nice.
There's a couple little maple, the little seeds that flutter around at this time of year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a really fun technique to play around with, and again, I get asked all the time if I can teach this, but I'm just beginning to dabble in it myself, so
Yeah.
I don't quite feel ready to offer those courses, and there are a lot of knowledgeable people out there offering them as well. So during the pandemic, I've been taking in as many Zoom sessions that I can. It's really opened up this world of connecting with people in your field, I find, more than ever before.
Definitely.
So I've been, I believe it's Botanical Colors. I think they're from California, off
Yeah.
of Feedback Friday on Instagram, or not on their Instagram, but they do like a Zoom free chat with like a different natural dye colorist every Friday. So I've been attending as many of those as I can.
Yeah.
Even just other artists that I follow, Catherine Alice, offering different talks throughout the summer. So it's been really cool to be able to connect with people and or just learn from them from afar.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that this shutdown and adjustment of our lives has really offered,
Yeah.
especially in our field, because it's so small in a way, but vast. Like, it's international.
For sure.
But there's, you know, you start to recognize faces and names really quickly because of the number of people practicing.
Yeah. Are you affiliated with the guild at all?
The Weavers Guild in Thunder
Yeah,
Bay?
yeah.
Yes, I'm a member of the Weavers Guild. And right now, they're obviously their programming has been kind of shut down.
Yeah.
So, and then to complicate matters further, I think they're losing their permanent space that they've had for the last decade or so.
Yeah.
So they're in the midst of shuffling things around and looking for space and adjusting to the climate as well.
Is that an active guild? Or is
It is an active guild.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very active, and they offer lots of demonstrations. They're usually at all of the fall and summer festivals.
Oh, that's great.
So they haven't been able to do that this year either.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of spinners. There's obviously plenty of weavers, but they're embracive of all fiber arts and different techniques. So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
In terms of sustainability and fashion, are you doing anything in that space?
I am. So as I mentioned, my claim to fame locally has kind of been my recycled clothing line.
Yeah.
And although I try to keep up with that, I am shifting gears a little bit and moving more into this realm where I'm doing like eco-printed and dyed silks.
Yeah.
I love participating in the local craft markets. So I'm hoping that in some way, shape, or form they'll continue this fall. I mean, all the spring, summer ones pretty much got canceled.
Yes.
And I don't have an online shop as of yet, so I do rely on that to kind of spread the word about myself, my art, and make new connections. So I'm really hoping that those markets continue in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, I've been always mindful of sustainability, and so in my own line, I do recycled clothing garments. And I've recently started recycling denim jeans into rag rugs. And moving forward, I'm looking at dyeing like old linens and cutting them up and sewing them into new garments as well. So it's always been a thing of recycling. I try not to buy new at all, except when it comes to wool.
Yeah, I think we have a number of us have that problem.
Yeah. So, but that being said, like wool's a fairly sustainable market,
absolutely.
and I mean, I just joke all the time, but I wouldn't be surprised if 20 years down the road I had a couple sheep.
What kind of sheep would you have, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably want to get a couple Icelandic sheep.
Yeah.
But I'd be open to other sheep.
That's great.
I'm not a spinner. Like, I don't knit, so a lot of these wool-centered practices are foreign to me.
Yes.
But it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it is. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, it's interesting coming from an art background and getting into natural dyeing and marrying the two, and then talking about clothing line. So is there a line between your art and your clothing line, or is it do you incorporate all of that into, like, how do you define what's art and what's fashion? Or
for me, I mean, the fashion comes in like I guess I'm more of a real craft person, like in the William Morris sense.
Yes.
So I come from a technical background. Like I went to a school that was technical, skill based, and then I did a fine art degree as well. And I think, in like looking back, the technical skill-based practice always resonated a little bit more with me.
Yeah.
Being able to offer something that was beautiful and functional is really important to me. And I think that's why I tend to gravitate towards producing these like mini production lines. That being said, in the recent years, I've enjoyed losing that focus and thinking more conceptually about the things that I'm doing and making. Without a price tag attached to them. So it's interesting because there is a definite line, and right now for me it's like, how do I split my time between these two things, because they both are so time intensive, a lot of slow making involved in these practices. So and that's kind of where, like, in the past the residencies have helped me focus in those ways, and because of travel restrictions right now, I don't have any residencies upcoming. I'm trying to make that I'm just trying to recreate that focus while I'm at home.
Sure.
And I have been working from home for a while now, and it's been going really well, but I'm still kind of being pulled into other directions, seasonal things like the garden. I have a garden for vegetables and for dye plants. So,
that's great.
It pulls me out there more than my loom does. So luckily, winter's coming, and I will be very focused for about 6 months in my studio. So, but yeah, my plans right now are to kind of warp up my looms so that I can weave a couple like production eco-friendly textile rugs to sell, and then also weave a conceptually based artistic rug. So that's my forthcoming mode of working, and I'm hoping that it works out where I can kind of get a little bit of both on the same warp.
That's fantastic. That's great. Is there anything else you wanted to cover that I didn't ask?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've just been thinking a lot about regional focus and connecting practices that I'm doing right now to the land. I'm always thinking about the land in which we are on right now.
Yes.
And so it's interesting because I'm just learning to connect, like my connection to the land is also a connection to my heritage. And I think that that's the most authentic way that I can continue working.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just been, it's great. I'm in this process of learning and exploring and research, and I'm also having a lot of fun doing it. And,
That's exciting.
Yeah, so
That's
it all kind of
fantastic.
feels like it's being wrapped up in a perfect package right now. So
yeah,
until the first frost, and then I'll be then I'll be sad.
Well, when you enjoy it that much and you're learning and you can see the connection, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels and it's motivating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have some more I have dreams on the horizon. I would love to continue offering workshops for people because I am experienced in different modes of working with fibers, and some I have taught some natural dye practices. So I'm hoping to apply for an Artists and Communities and Schools grant through the Ontario Arts Council this fall. That will help me spread that idea around either this community or many communities in the north.
Yeah.
I'm also, I've recently worked with people in the Algoma region.
Yeah.
Kind of love the idea of building like a cross Northern Ontario fiber network.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all working in very isolated regions and working on a lot of similar projects. And whenever we get together in those rare occasions, we're able to really, kind of cross percolate our ideas and just glean so much from each other even in a few days.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's important too.
Yeah.
It's important to make those connections, and it is, inspiring. When you get into a group of people or form a network and you see what they're working on and you're working, you just inspire each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
I've also been working in community arts quite a bit in the last 2 years.
Oh.
So kind of using that as a gateway for me to get more comfortable with teaching has been really useful. And so I should clarify that when I mean teaching, I don't really mean teaching for profit. I'm talking about teaching in the community arts way and sharing the practice and the craft for the sake of sharing the craft and making sure that it lives on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. Is there anything else? So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, I have my Instagram at Tuija_Hansen.
Yep.
That's probably the best place, and from there you can be redirected to my website. I just started a blog, and so I'm planning on becoming much more, how do I say, just I guess
Socially out there?
Frequently socially out there.
Excellent.
I'm known for popping up once in a while, but I'm going to try to make it a routine.
I'll make sure that I put a link to all of this in the show notes. It was so fantastic. It was wonderful chatting with you. Incredible. This is great work, and I enjoyed reading online out in the social environment more about you. So it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, now I get to interview you.
That was great.
Awesome. Thank you.
We are at Kakabeka Falls, just outside of Thunder Bay, Ontario.
So, These falls were formed 1.6 billion years ago after the last ice age, and the receding ice carved this gorge out of the Precambrian shield. Now, there is a legend called the Legend of Princess Green Mantle. Legend has it that she, being the daughter of an Ojibwe chief, there was an imminent attack by the Sioux natives from the neighboring tribe. So she decided to concoct this plan to save her tribe. Off she went into the woods, pretending to be lost. She was captured by the Sioux. Now, to beg for her life, she said, "We will spare you your life if you lead us to your encampment." So she did. She agreed, and she was in the lead canoe down the Kaministikia River with the Sioux on her way to her Ojibwe campground. Now, little did they know, they were headed straight towards Kakabeka Falls, and over the falls she went with the canoes with the Sioux warriors down the falls to their death. Now it's told that if you look very closely into the mist, you can see the ghost of Princess Green Mantle. Standing overlooking Old Fort William. Now, this fort was established in the late 18th century, around the 1790s. Now, it first began with the Northwest Company in Grand Portage, just on the other side of the U.S.-Canadian border. Now, what happened at the American Revolution, the border was established, and Grand Portage was the original fur trading post. It moved further north to this location once the British overtook the French. Later it lasted probably till about 1821. This period here is 1816, but it lasted till about 1821 when it amalgamated with the Hudson Bay Company. And the Hudson Bay Company was more established up near Hudson Bay, of course, and this fort became rather redundant, and that was the end of Fort William. It was later incorporated into the city of Thunder Bay.
This is the doctor's house, and you can tell that when you're looking at the buildings that are white are usually the high, I guess, at the higher ranking or the more affluent of the group. So this is the doctor's house. Let's go in and take a look. We're now in the apothecary, and we're going to check out some of the stuff that they used, that the doctor used. It's pretty crazy. Like, some of this stuff just gives me the willies looking at it. But the saw for amputations. You've got some. This actually was used for. The doctor was also a dentist, so he used that to pull out teeth, and that to get the root out. And then, well, this baby here is. It's actually used to help. Mainly, a lot of the voyageurs had problems when they were traveling. They were 6 to 8 weeks on road, and they were eating split peas and other things. They needed to really clean themselves out. So this is a huge enema machine. Pretty big. Over here we've got some of the medicines. A lot of them were brought over from Europe. We've got ginger and tapioca. Tapioca was used just to calm the stomach. Amethyst mine just outside of Thunder Bay, and we're going to go in and look at the amethyst that they have. They go in, the mine's still working. It's working. It's been in operation since the 1960s, and so every day it's still a live mine. They come out, they take the amethyst and they put it out, and we're going to go look at it. We're going to hunt for some amethyst pieces. So come on, and we'll take a look. I've gathered a bunch of rocks with amethyst in them, and I'm just washing them now, and I'm going to figure out which specimens I want to take home with me. There's a couple here that are beautiful. This one's gorgeous. It's really nice. And I like this one as well. It can just show you the transition of how the amethyst developed on the granite. It's really nice. Just finished a full day of hiking all around Thunder Bay, and so in order to finish the day we thought we'd have a Finnish sauna. this is our last night in Thunder Bay. What was your favorite part?
I was so impressed by the scenery, the mountains, the hills. I was going to say the ocean. It looks like the ocean.
It feels like the ocean. The Lake Superior is huge.
Oh
It's
my
absolutely
gosh.
huge. Yeah, it felt like the ocean.
Stunning. The first Pebble Beach. Oh gosh, what else?
It feels, well, to me, it feels like it's the best place if you're an outdoors person, because there's just so much hiking to do and cycling, and nature's amazing. Foraging would be fantastic. There's just so much, and I actually did a little bit of foraging while we were
I
there.
did, because I reached in to grab a sandwich or a snack and I felt something mushy and fuzzy. And I looked in and it looked like a whole lot of something green.
It was moss,
Lichen.
moss.
Same thing.
It was like moss, lichen moss. Yeah, and I think the other thing that I loved about it is just the people. The people have been so fantastic. They've been incredibly friendly,
Yes.
helpful, like really nice.
I have to agree. Yep. And the people you met that you actually interviewed,
Yes.
each one was so, I mean, everyone's an individual, but they had such unique individual pathways that led them to where they are artistically.
Yes.
That
yeah.
was fascinating. And I, just sitting back while you were asking the questions, there's so much going through my head, but just taking it all in, I just had a smile on my face. And some of the stories were very personal and very touching as well.
Yeah, they definitely shared their humanity, like the honesty that was coming through in the conversations, and it was just wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful, and we just met them. Like it was just,
Exactly.
it was
But
fantastic.
it's something about fiber people, art people, who just seem to really connect, and they're so, I don't know what it is, everyone's so sort of out there and zen, or just true to themselves through their art. So when they meet like-minded people, it's like you've known each other for a long time, and it just carry on a conversation.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the fact that on this vacation I wasn't planning on it, but I got to geek out with others on natural dyeing.
Geek out. Well, I speak for yourself, because I ain't geeking out. I was very demure and,
As
it's
always,
very.
especially when you were dancing underneath the spaceship. You're very demure.
I didn't see.
Oh no, that was
I missed that.
that was your sister or someone else.
I don't know who that was. That was the space alien. Was it Suzette Space Cadet?
Probably. I think it was Suzette.
Suzette
or was it
Space
Crepe
Cadet.
Suzette?
No, Suzette Space Cadet.
Okay, Suzette Space Cadet. Anyway, the trip in Thunder Bay was fantastic. I definitely want to come back.
There's more to do.
There's a lot more
so
to
much
do.
more to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we were never rushed in any which way whatsoever, but we just sort of went with the flow, but we said, okay, we want to do this today, this and this, and we had plenty of time to do it. I mean, 2-3 hour hikes. There were hikes that could have lasted a half day, but
Yes.
like you mentioned, there are some for avid hikers, or some very beautiful and still somewhat challenging trails for everyone.
Yeah. And you got to conquer some of your fears as well.
I did, and I said to myself after I went, well, I don't know. I did a little. I know it's a mindset, but it's not, because as soon as I step out there, things start to spin. I feel that sensation as you're just about to go over a roller coaster, or as you're just going up, 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 and then that feeling when you just hit the cusp, and you just, and it just my stomach, my legs are shaky, and it becomes a physical thing. Even when I'm not thinking about it, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm okay with this. It just happens. And but I said to myself, I said, no, this platform is not going to collapse. The bridge is not going to all of a sudden just disconnect from the rock face. And I'm not thinking about that, but it's a feeling that I think there's going to be something.
Well, others share the same fear as well. So, but I think you did a great job. I also want to just thank everybody from Thunder Bay for being so nice and helping us out. And it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Hospitality was fantastic.
I have to say the same, and love you, T-Dot.
Take care. Bye-bye.